Hey everybody. So for anyone watching this who knows me, you probably know that I have been wanting to get access to land for a pretty long time, probably more than 10 years, and been trying to figure out how to go about that in the most appropriate way possible. And obviously for a long time I thought that the concept of ownership was too corrupt to participate in, but there's not really any way around that, at least in my situation, within modern cultures. So it's kind of a matter of just working with what's available. But anyway, I recently bought some land, finally, and sitting here in the back of it by my little creek, which comes from a spring up the hill, which I'll show you in a bit. But yeah, the flow rate of it right now is slightly increased because it was raining the past 2 days. But the flow rate is normally pretty close to this anyway. And this is about the rate that it was when I first looked at it at the beginning of summer too. It's just slowed down slightly over the summer, through the dry season. But yeah, I first looked at this land pretty close to, I think it was July when I first came out here and visited it. Was considering it for a little while and then looking into it, doing some research before contacting the seller. Then I, contacted the seller. We had a while of negotiating about it because he was wanting to get a pretty significant return on his investment, which I guess I can sort of understand people wanting to do that, but he didn't actually put anything into it to get anything out of it other than like a little bit of time and the initial cost of buying it, which he got it for pretty cheap from, a family. The previous owner before him had passed away, and so he got it pretty cheap through their estate. But anyway, I still got a pretty good deal in terms of this area. This parcel is 2.2 acres, and I got it for $26,000, which is slightly under $12,000 an acre. And the parcel next to this is about 2.7 acres, and it sold for $63,000 last year. And they're pretty similar. The one up there is like slightly flatter, but this one has a spring on it, which the seller didn't know about. But I don't think anybody knew about the spring, and I just found it when I first came out here. Well, actually, I found it the second time I came out here. The first time I found the creek, and I assumed that the spring was like up on someone else's land further uphill. But then the second time I came out here, I decided to follow the creek up, and I thought like I might have to walk in the back of the neighbor's land just to find where the source of the creek is. But then I found it right on this land, just like, it's visible to me from here. So I just thought I'd make a video to talk about some of my plans, because I am wanting to document the process of turning this land into a food forest and a permaculture homestead. Right now, there are a decent amount of mature trees. This land has been unmanaged since about the 1950s at least, possibly longer than that. There used to be a road, well, the road that currently exists used to be slightly over from where it is. Part of it used to go just onto this land, like way over on that side by the road. But that was also, that road was not even there in 1950 anymore. It's old. And the only way that I even realized that was still there is because of they call them swales, but they're, rows of huge stones that were taken out of the ground, probably back a long time ago when this area was pasture. It looks like it was meant to keep animals from walking into the road. Then I looked on Google Maps, and the topographic, or the elevation map, shows the imprint of the old road going down into the neighbor's land also. But I guess that the reason that they replaced it is just because that road would have been much steeper than the current one. But anyway, I was going to say that there are a lot of mature maple trees on this land. I would say that most of the trees are maples. There are also hickories and some beech trees and possibly alders. a couple oaks. There's some black locust. There's also some wild cherry. I think that is the main population of trees that I've seen. There's a lot of spice bush, and there's quite a few ferns, which I have yet to identify specifically. There is a lot of moss on the rocks. There's also a lot of rocks, which I personally am glad about because it's a good building material. There is some invasive Japanese barberry, but I'm not too worried about that. There's not really a whole lot of it. And then, as you can see, at the very back on this hill, there's the Pachysandra, which, you know, that is definitely something to contend with over time. But I'm just hoping, as long as it doesn't spread to the other side of the creek, it should be okay. I don't really mind it too much on this back hill. I mean, it looks nice, but it would be nice to eventually replace it with a variety of native ground cover plants. Actually, up on this hill in the back is where I am thinking that I would eventually like to build a small tower with an astronomical observatory platform on top of it, because this hill looks out over a valley, which is, well, it's like multiple ravines converging, and there's some large ponds back there. It's there's a 108-acre parcel behind this that is all contiguous one parcel, and it's zoned for agricultural use, but there is no agriculture happening on it right now, and I kind of don't expect that to be happening directly behind here because, as I said, it's just a bunch of ravines. It would take a lot of earth moving to flatten it out enough to grow on it. I think that probably they're going to be using a section of the land that's way over there down the road. They're like where it, you know, sticks out towards the road down the hill. It's a bit flatter over there, and they have a barn built over there, but I don't see any sign of farming yet over there. But anyway, that's pretty far from here. I obviously can't see it from where I'm sitting right now. I am considering trying to get to know the person who owns that 108 acres and ask them if they would be willing to eventually sell me 3 acres behind here, like connected to the top of this hill, because there's like a ridge that goes back that direction, looking out over the, you know, ravines and everything, and it's disconnected from the road pretty much everywhere else. You'd have to, like, you know, go all the way along there, up, down the ravine, up the ravine to get there through 108 acres. And yeah, I don't know. I wonder if they'd be willing to sell me like 3 to 5 acres of that land back there. The main reason that I wanted to look in this area, well, for one, it's like 30 minutes away from a really nice beach on the lake. Like, it's also a half hour away from basically where everyone I know lives, including my family. Yeah, it's also just a nice geographical area, in my opinion. There are a lot of parks around here that are really nice. So yeah, I think replacing a significant portion of the maple trees, preferably the smaller ones. I do want to keep some of the mature maples to try and tap for maple syrup. And of course I don't want to remove all the maples, but, you know, I would want to definitely reduce the number of maple trees. But I do want to replace a lot of the maple trees with a lot of different types of nut and fruit trees, probably mainly chestnut, hickory, and hazelnut, and pawpaw, serviceberry, hackberry, mulberry, just as like some of the main ones. But I do want to include a lot of other diversity as well. I have like a list that I've been putting together for a while of about 300 different edible plants that would fit in this region. Most of them are native, but not all of them. Like, you know, seaberry obviously is one plant that I would like to grow, but it's not native here. But it is just such a powerful medicine that I think it would be pretty important to cultivate anyway. And then I do want to make some ponds, definitely, for fish habitat and also freshwater mussels. I'd like to try and figure out how to create as much habitat for freshwater mussels as possible, especially since I'm at the top of the watershed here, which is another reason why I picked this location. This is the top of the watershed. All that's uphill from me is a small rural residential area, and that's it. There's no farms or anything like that uphill. There's no urban areas, factories, whatever. Maybe 100 houses, probably less than that, spread out. Yeah, I would say probably less than that, spread out on top of the hill, and a lot of that is probably not even draining down in this direction, because there are quite a few ravines coming off the top of the hill over there. And so yeah, this is the top of the watershed leading down into the Chagrin River, which then leads into Lake Erie. Anyway, I guess I'll take you to some other areas on the land to show you some of the spots that I'm thinking about doing things such as building. Probably going to be building a small shed next year to use to store tools and everything, and also probably to use as like a temporary camping shelter if I want to spend the night out here. And then also in the spring or at the beginning of next summer, probably I will rent an excavator and make a driveway, and probably also work on the ponds. I want to at least like figure out where I'm going to have the ponds before that, but I might wait on actually digging the ponds out because I'm going to have to figure out how to rent the excavator and make that work with my work schedule, because you know, as of right now I only have the weekends off, so take definitely more than 2 days to dig as many ponds as I'd like to have. I don't really want to like be renting an excavator for a long period of time if I'm not going to be able to use it during the period that it's rented. So I'll probably just stick to renting it for 2 days at a time at first, and just work on mainly getting the driveway in so that I can actually pull my car all the way back. I did make a temporary parking spot off the road. Still a bit difficult to pull in and out of. So anyway, I'll show you some of those other areas on the land. All right, so I'm down here at the source of the spring now, which is right in these rocks. There probably are actually multiple places where the water is coming out. I believe there's a fracture going along this ravine that the creek is running down. And I think that the water is probably coming out initially up here, and also probably in other spots down there because the flow rate increases as it goes downhill. But there is a little pool of water under here, which I'll record a video of in a second to show you. This is the source of the spring. So now I'm up near the top of the land along the north border, and you can probably see the neighbor's house, which is currently being built in the distance, just up the hill there, but nobody lives there yet. So I just wanted to show this ravine. This I think used to be a creek because I followed the ravine on Google Maps up to the top of it, and at the top, which is on the other side of the road now, there is a dammed up pond. So I'm pretty sure that this also was spring fed, but the owner of the land on the other side of the road dammed the spring up and built a pond, and that's why this is now a dry ravine. But my thinking is this probably also has a fracture in the bedrock along it. So I'm hoping that if I build some ponds starting from the top of this ravine on my land and then a few more going down, I might be able to recharge a lot of water into the aquifer beneath here, and that might even increase the flow of the spring that is on my land. So now I'm standing over closer to the road. This area is where I'm thinking of building that shed next spring, and this area over here, which I'll show in a second, is also where I'm thinking of building a workshop in the future. Probably workshop over in that area, temporary shed here, and then eventually a small house here. But as you can see, this would be the view south facing. South is approximately that way. Losing the light right now, obviously. It's pretty cloudy today anyway, so the light is going away faster than it normally would. One of the things about this land that was a compromise on my part is that the road is a little bit louder than I would have ideally liked, but it's not too bad. I mean, I don't really mind the noise that much, and I'm planning to eventually build a stone wall along the road, which hopefully will reflect a lot of that noise away from here, as well as planting some evergreens on the inside of the stone wall. But yeah, anyway, so this is the area where I'm planning to build a shed. It'll be just like a 10-foot by 10-foot shed, you know, just treated lumber pillars in the ground as the foundation, and then probably also stack stone retaining wall underneath the downhill side, just to give it extra support. Yeah, it's just going to be a simple shed, just door, probably one window, store tools in it, have like a fold down sleeping platform probably. Anyway, I'll show you the area that I'm thinking of building the workshop really quick before it gets too dark. So as you can kind of tell, this area is also a bit flatter. This will, you know, have to be cleared out, of course. And I'm thinking I might even try to do that this winter. A lot of what's growing in there is just spice bush. and there's a lot of it around other areas too, so I don't really feel too worried about removing some of it here. But anyway, yeah, so I'm thinking of building a workshop over here, which ideally I'd like to have the driveway come down that way and then around, and then be able to pull the car into the workshop. But, you know, that will require a lot of changing of the landscape. I mean, well, you know, not a lot, but it's already fairly decent. I think that the steepest area will be coming down from the road maybe, but it will really just depend on like how I make the curve from there and then coming this way, because right here there's a pretty good plane, like right there's a little area that will need to be filled in from uphill, but there's, you know, a pretty good plane going along here, and I could easily see making a better driveway going into here. I'm gonna see if I can get up to the temporary parking area just to show you that really quick, if there's still any light over when I get up there. So this is the temporary parking spot I made, just a little pull off so I don't have to keep parking on the side of the road before the driveway gets made.